I don't mind you moving around. I just don't want you to. Oh my goodness. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fantastic Nature Adventures. I'm your host, Nat Armstrong. We are going to be going to a cave today. That's right, there is a cave, and I know about this cave because I was actually working at a nature camp this summer. I actually finished up just about a week ago as of recording this video, and we went there twice with the kids to this cave, and it was really cool. And they have some of the relatively rare cave salamanders, or spotted tail salamanders, which I kind of think is a dumb name, but I'll get into that later once we actually find those guys. But these are relatively rare species of salamander that do live in these caves. So yeah. Okay guys, I've officially made it to the cave after a ton of hiking and missing a skink, unfortunately. But this cave should house some pretty cool salamanders. Definitely gonna be some slimies here. Hopefully we can find a cave salamander as well, but I'm just gonna go in and see what I can find. We have our first salamander. This is the species I'm gonna actually present to you guys first. I brought some latex gloves and of course some water with me because I just don't know how fragile this ecosystem is. Obviously want to leave as little impact on it as I possibly can, but I do see a tiny little slimy salamander down here. So I'm gonna catch it and bring it out into the open light so we can do a little segment on him. So that right there is the Northern Slimy Salamander. There was actually two of these guys, and I wanted to be super gentle with handling them because they are, in a cave, and they might be a little bit more of a sensitive population. I don't exactly know why. Pretty much all of the Northern Slimy Salamanders, these black and white guys that I've found, are little guys that I found in the cave, just in the cave. They've pretty much just been like tiny little baby ones. Not found a single large adult. Now these guys can get to a pretty good size, probably close to, I want to say, maybe even 6-7 inches, which is a decent size for a Plethodon salamander, but I've only seen these little guys in the cave here. And that first one did get away because, like I said, I want to be as gentle as absolutely possible with these salamanders. Instead of grabbing them, just have them crawl right onto your hand. And that one I did not want to grab, especially because it had a nice long tail, which I did not want to have it fall off. But just like lizards, salamanders can actually, lose their tails, which you can see with this guy right here. He's actually lost his tail. See that tail? It's beginning to regrow, and you can see how it's a little lighter colored than the rest of that body. They have a beautiful black body with little white spots. They actually have like little almost golden white spots. They're so almost metallic looking, this species of salamander. And I guess a lot of plethodontids are. This one in particular is very almost like, yeah, metallic, I want to say. And yeah, this is one of the most common salamanders in Tennessee, actually. This is not a rare species whatsoever, unlike the cave salamander, which I hope we're going to encounter next. But they do live in a ton of different habitats, which is, hence why they're one of the more common species, because they're found pretty much wherever you can find a salamander. And they do also like to live in the mouths of caves. They don't go nearly as deep into the caves as the cave salamander does, but you can find these guys in the mouths of caves. Like I said, I don't know exactly why. I've been only finding little youngsters, pretty much just like this size or maybe an inch bigger. And I have found others, under logs and stuff that are a lot bigger. But yeah, just in this cave, I have not found any. And these are one of the more widespread types of salamanders. The slimy salamander complex, which is a complex of different species in the slimy salamander, complex, live all over the United States, like literally all over the Eastern United States, Midwest. They don't go into, the Western United States as much, but definitely in the, I guess, Western 2/3 of the country, they are pretty prominent. Now we do have these guys up into New York. They are pretty widespread, like I said, throughout, you know, southern and kind of like, you know, coastal eastern United States. And there's, you know, there's different species throughout different areas, but this is the most widespread type. This is the Northern Slimy. This is a very easily recognizable, common species of salamander with a black body and those really nice little white spots. He's gonna keep moving just a little bit, and he's totally fine the way he is. He's, you know, looking pretty good to me. I'm just making sure he's still in focus because he is so small. You know, the smaller the animal, the harder it is to focus on him, especially considering I don't have anyone with me to film because Caroline is at work. I am doing this solo, so I'm gonna have to really try to, you know, just focus. But anyway, this is a beautiful salamander, and you know, a lot of salamanders, especially Plethodon salamanders, have an incredible adaptation for when they hunt. They actually have a tongue, kind of like a chameleon, not quite as insane as a chameleon in terms of length, but they actually shoot their tongue way, way, way out, and it has a sticky end, and that's how they catch stuff like ants and flies and other little insects. And I would imagine this little guy is feeding on the tiniest, tiniest of invertebrates in the mouth of the cave, or, you know, maybe just around here, depending on where he actually is. And yeah, it's really cool. They have a pretty crazy tongue, and one of the species that's most studied on, you know, the kind of like velocity and the power of the tongue and all that kind of stuff is this species here, the Northern Slimy. And it's pretty surprising that I have not gotten this species up close to the cameras before, considering that it is a common species and it is found here in Tennessee. This summer I have not found any except for in, well, this cave. So there you go. And yeah, I'm gonna put this guy back. And as you guys can see, I'm wearing latex gloves. These are living in a cave, and caves are pretty, you know, one of the more fragile types of, you know, habitats that are here in the southern United States. And not to mention they are plethodontids, which is a family of salamanders called the lungless salamanders that breathe entirely through their skin. They don't have lungs, hence the name. So there you go, guys. That is our first salamander from the cave. The other species is yet to come. Cave salamander. All right, I have sights on a cave. I'm pretty sure that's a cave. That's gotta be a cave. Like, there's no way that's not a cave. All right, it's in this like little hole in the rock. Now, I'm praying that there's not a deeper part of that hole, because if there is, I might be screwed. Okay, never mind. Never mind with that smaller one in the hole. We got a bigger one just right. That is a big one. Oh my God, that's a huge one. Okay, salamander secured. Oh, there's his head. Hold on, buddy, you're not going anywhere. Okay. Okay. And there's his tail. All right, we gotta get him out to film him. And there we have it, guys. That is the cave. Oh, the cave salamander. Look at the size of that guy. He is a good, or it is a good sized cave salamander. I'll put a little bit more water on you because these guys need to stay nice and moist. See, now that he's all wet, he wants to move around, but I'm going to keep him controlled. The good thing about these salamanders, they don't move as fast as the slimies. Doesn't mean that they're not able to get away. But wow, look at that salamander. That is just a beautiful salamander. Oh my goodness, guys. That is probably one of my favorite salamanders you can find out here. I'll be honest with you guys, I was pretty nervous because I didn't find one. I could not find one. I was like getting nervous because the other times I went into the cave, I'll be honest, guys, I found one pretty quickly, almost instantaneously. This time was not like that. I was going, uh-oh, guys, where's the cave salamander? I need to find one quick. I saw that smaller one in that little crevice there, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe I can get that one. But she was just tucked way back in there, and there was no way I was gonna get her. And I was like, oh no, this is like actually bad, guys. I don't think I'm gonna be able to find one of these. And literally, I just turned to like look for my camera, and I see this bigger one just on a nice rock. Look at that beautiful salamander, guys. That is one of the most, in my opinion, gorgeous salamanders you can find here in Tennessee. Now, the first thing I want to say about this species, it should not be confused with the other types of cave salamanders found in the United States. There are other species of cave salamanders that are found in the United States that are total troglobites. What that means is they only live in caves. They cannot live outside of caves. They are totally dependent on living deep in dark caves. Many of them have lost most of their eyesight and have completely lost their pigmentation, and they are totally white. As you can see with this salamander, that is totally not the case. This is an orange species with sort of a brownish or blackish speckling spotting on his body there. Look at that gorgeous salamander. Other species of salamanders that live in caves, pretty much all of the other ones in the United States, are troglobites. And troglobites are any animal that is totally dependent and can only live in a cave system, which means if you took that salamander out of a cave, they would not survive. This species actually does not need to live in caves. They can actually live in a lot of different habitats. They can live under logs, under rocks. One scientist even told me that she found one near a baseball field, which is pretty funny. So these guys are definitely not troglobites. They are not, dependent on the cave, but they do oftentimes live in the caves. They breed in the caves, and a lot of them spend most of their lives, or if not all their lives, in the caves. But I don't feel, nervous about taking this individual out of the cave, because I know that they can be found outside of caves, and I know that they don't need those caves to live. So this salamander species does not necessarily need to live in caves, which has given it a change of names. Maybe this isn't the reason why, but people, or at least scientists, have begun to call this species the spotted tail salamander, which I think is honestly just stupid. I mean, well, first of all, it's not just the tail that's spotted, the whole body is spotted. And second of all, I think just calling it the cave salamander is just so much more awesome and so much more of a respect to the species. Spotted tail could be really anything. And one thing that's really crazy about this salamander and the cave salamanders in general, a lot of the different cave salamanders that live in the United States are in the same genus as this species of salamander, Eurycea. There are a lot of Eurycea salamanders that are totally dependent on caves. They're troglobites. There is even a species here called the Tennessee cave salamander, which is one of those troglobite salamanders. I'm not sure if it's a Eurycea or not, but it is a troglobite salamander, and cannot be any more different than this species, even though in some cases they fill the same niches. Now this cave does not feature that species because that species is neotenic. So those salamanders, not only are they troglobites, they're also neotenic, which means they retain their gills throughout their entire life, just like axolotls. That is another perfect example of a neotenic salamander species. Obviously, most salamander species will grow out of their gills when they metamorphose from larvae to adults, just like this one, but those guys do not. They just have their gills fully. So that's pretty easy way to distinguish this from pretty much any other cave salamander. They don't have gills, and they're not pale, and they have these nice big buggy eyes. Now this salamander is just so cool to me. It can actually have up to 65% of its total body length being its tail. I mean, look at the length of that tail. That might be 65% right there. I would say that's at least 50% of the body just being its tail. That is incredible. It looks a lot like the long-tailed salamander, which is another species of Eurycea, but is not found in caves. And look at those toes, look at those feet. They are actually pretty good climbers. I wonder if they have a little bit of adhesive on those feet, which help them climb up slippery cave rock faces. I would not be surprised. Now this is not a super rare species. I know I was saying, oh my gosh, this is a really rare species of salamander. It's not crazy rare, but it definitely is not a species that most people would come across. It's definitely a species where you have to go out to a cave, and a pretty large limestone cave, and find one. You're not just gonna find them out and about wherever you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, getting up close and personal with the cave salamander. How cool is that species? That is just incredible. Honestly guys, one of my favorite herps you can find out here. I love snakes. This is the next guy, but salamanders, just something about them. They're just so amazing. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed me getting all the way down here to this cave and finally landing a nice sized cave salamander. All right, see you guys in the next episode. Peace out. Bye.